welcome everybody. We're excited to have you today. There's a roll sheet going around, so if you haven't signed in and it's already bypassed you, just grab it, sign in. We have more handouts coming, so if you don't have one, they'll be coming here in just a few minutes. But we are going to welcome Sinead. She is our holistic wellness coach, I guess you could say.
Something like that,
She's going to talk to us today about holistic nutrition and just different ways that we can kind of incorporate that into our lifestyles. So I want to welcome her and give her your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, thank you all for being here today. I feel very official. I've never really been in this kind of setting before. My name is Sinead, and I'm a holistic health and nutrition coach. So in my former life, I was an investment banker, and I did that I'm Irish, but then I moved around a lot. So I was banking in Amsterdam and in London, and then our family had the opportunity to move to New York, so I took that opportunity to close that chapter and start the new one in my true passion in health and wellness. So while I was in New York, I did my master's in holistic wellness. And then I went on to do a year with the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and that allowed me to register as a holistic health practitioner with the American Association for Drugless Practitioners. And then I went on to specialize with the National Academy for Sports Medicine in weight management and fitness nutrition. So then I moved to Utah about 15 months ago and decided, right, now is the time to get stuck into trying to help other people in what I really believe works. So there we go. So I believe that in order to be as healthy and as happy as we can be for the long term, it all works as a synergy of factors. So it's not only nutrition, but it's how they all work in harmony with each other. So it's nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress management, healthy relationships, connectivity to nature, spirituality, career. And it's all about maintaining as much of a balance in all of those factors as we can, because they all form like the wheel of life, the circle of life. And if we're out of sync in any of those, then it's going to put the others off somewhere. We're going to try and overcompensate in some way, and that throws us off and causes illnesses and issues that we deal with. So I believe that works. And on the other side of the coin, I'm going to explain to you why I believe pills and diets don't work in the long term. So people say to me, I never knew how bad I felt until I realized what it felt like to feel good. Like, we accept a lot of ailments and illnesses as everyday, oh, I just have that, or I just always been that way. It doesn't have to be that way. And once you start to realize what actually feeling good feels like, and then you can think back and think, gosh, I felt so bad, and that was just normal. Oh. Here. So, we're constantly plagued with issues like, depression, fatigue, excess weight, brain fog, bloating, headaches, joint pain, itchy skin, sweet cravings, sleeplessness, constipation. And these are all because of the toxic foods and the toxic ways that we live our lives. It's not just happening by coincidence. We're sick because we're breathing in car exhaust fumes all the time. We're living on fast, convenience, fatty foods. We're surrounded by industrial production. There are preservatives and chemicals in a lot of the food we eat. We're spraying pesticides on our fruit and vegetables, and we're consuming them. We're feeding our animals steroids to fatten them up, and then we're eating their byproducts. There's sugar and artificial sweeteners in most of the foods that you can buy now. We're living off genetically modified foods. There's overcrowding in our factory farms, leading to bird flu, salmonella, E. coli, mad cow disease. We're abusing alcohol and prescription drugs. We're putting food additives into everything. And there's so much intestinal bacteria built up in our bodies that's making us sick. Oh, wrong way. The major causes of death, the top two, are heart disease and cancer. According to the World Health Organization, 1/3 of deaths are diet related, and 40% of all cancers are preventable. The number 3 cause of death is death by iatrogenic disease, which is like to do with hospitals or pharmaceuticals. Obesity contributes to more than $190 billion in related healthcare costs, and nearly 1 in 5 deaths is associated with obesity. An estimated 29 million Americans have diabetes, and 1 in 4 doesn't even know. Another 86 million have pre-diabetes, 15 to 30% of whom will develop type 2 diabetes within 5 years without proper nutrition and exercise. 95% of diabetics are type 2, which is diet and lifestyle related. And the sad reality is that it's rapidly growing amongst our children. I'll go back one. So I am a big believer that inflammation is the silent killer. So inflammation leads to heart disease, obesity, diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's, arthritis, allergies, asthma, irritable bowel syndrome, and inflammatory bowel disorder, just to name but a few. There are millions of others. Okay, so what causes the inflammation? Okay, so diet is one thing. We'll come back to that in a minute. But there are lots of other factors. So there are environmental factors. So secondhand smoke, pollution, chemicals, heavy metals. Stress. Stress is a huge reason that our bodies are chronically inflamed. Stress in the workplace, relationships, financial, physical injury, trauma, fractures, cuts, abrasions cause a lot of inflammation. Acute and chronic illness like Crohn's, celiac, arthritis, heart disease, obesity. Some of us unfortunately are genetically predisposed to having high inflammation, but the genes are in our control, and that's the good news. We may have the genes, but we can decide what our bodies do with them. So let's go back now to the diet, because that's a huge, huge factor. So you're talking like what causes inflammation? It's the trans fats, omega-6 fatty acids, refined sugar, casein, which is the protein in dairy, gluten, which is the protein in a lot of grains like wheat, barley, rye, spelt, refined grains, alcohol, food additives, red meat, and dairy all cause inflammation. So some of the main anti-inflammatory foods are like blueberries, dark chocolate, green tea, wild salmon, ginger, kelp, green leafy veg, and a lot of the spices like turmeric. Exercise is huge at reducing inflammation, but we'll talk more about that in a while. Okay, so if stress causes inflammation, what are the causes of stress? So it's family, career at school, financial, pollution causes stress in our bodies, and then obviously eating low net gain foods. So what I mean by that is foods that are high in calories but low in nutritional value. So as a nation, we're actually overfed yet undernourished. Over-exercising also causes stress on the body and hence inflammation. Okay, so what are the effects of the stress? Inflammation. Increased cortisol. So when our bodies produce too much cortisol, it prevents us from entering the deep delta phase of sleep, and we need to get into that phase of sleep for our bodies to heal and repair and cleanse. We naturally want to heal, repair, and cleanse. That's what our bodies were built to do. But if we don't get into that proper deep phase of sleep, that doesn't happen. So we wake up feeling tired, we reach for sugar and caffeine, that depletes our adrenals, and we're living off borrowed energy. So it also throws the acid-alkaline balance out of whack. And I'm going to talk more about that in a few minutes because that's really important. But just a quick summary, our blood is at a pH of 7.35. Okay? To remain healthy, we need to keep our alkalinity above 7.35. So we need to eat foods and do things that are more alkaline and less acidic. But we'll go into more of that in a second. Okay, so what do? We can take a quick fix, go on a diet, stick a Band-Aid on the solution, hope it goes away. We can pop a pill, but then we risk depression, decreased appetite, nausea, anxiety, aggression, headache, insomnia, suicide, all the side effects of medication. And we're all too familiar with this warning on every advert for medication may cause insomnia, depression, diarrhea, nightmares, nausea, anemia, vomiting, headaches, anxiety, or even death. So we could go on a diet. So there are more than 17,000 diets out there. A quarter of all US men and a third of all US women are on a diet on any given day. More than $20 billion is made in the diet industry, whether it's books, drugs, surgeries. Food industry is cashing in big time on obesity, all these light, fat-free fad products. 35% of dieters are pathological, which means they just can't get off the diet. They're constantly dieting. 95% of dieters regain the weight, and 90% gain even more than they lost. So we got to look at our inherited family body type. What's our ethnicity? What are our genetics? Our culture. They all play a big factor in, how and why we can lose the weight. Metabolism plays a huge factor. Food that tastes good are the ones that we reach for. So, like high in fat and sugar, we reach for those foods for a reason, because of, that's how we were engineered to survive, way back when. But that's no coincidence. Foods like that release dopamine in the body, which makes us feel good. It's like the happy drug. So if we're not getting that because we're dieting, then it makes us even more obsessed with food because we're not getting the dopamine. We're also not getting serotonin. So our bodies produce serotonin. It's our calm, happy hormone. So if we don't have that, then that leads to depression, low self-esteem, overeating. And what do we do then when we feel that bad? We want to reach for high-carb, bad food. So it's a vicious circle. The body is programmed to maintain a certain weight range, like a thermostat. So if we lose a lot of weight and then we reach a plateau where we can't lose any more, a huge part of that reason is because our metabolisms have slowed completely down. But some of it is also the fact that we're naturally programmed to maintain a certain weight range. Okay, it's influenced by genetics, age, lifestyle, whether we're sedentary or active, smoking, stress, sleep, nutrition, environmental toxins, and exercise. So our body slows down its metabolic rate to conserve energy when we lose too much weight, as I was saying, because we don't know when we're going to be fed again. So let's just not use up too much. Let's just store it because I don't know when the next meal is coming. So that promotes fat storage for survival. Also, we're hungrier when we're dieting because we're not getting the nutritional density of food that we should be getting. So we're constantly hungry because we're constantly looking for more nutrition. So we gain weight. Food restriction creates a feeling of deprivation. We're human beings. We don't like being told what to do. We don't like feeling deprived. It's psycho-emotional. It's like, don't tell me what to do. That's why diets don't work. And then when we do go back to eating the way we normally did, then the weight is regained as fat. So what do? We've got to go on another diet, right? Food is also soothing. Think back to bonding with mother, and also it's involved in celebrations everywhere. So it is everywhere. So what do we do? Diets can also trigger and even worsen existing health issues. For example, these high-protein, low-carb diets, they're so detrimental to people with diabetes because diabetics are already at risk of kidney stones, or of kidney issues, sorry. So if they're eating high-protein diet, that's going to lead to kidney stones, cancer, obesity, osteoporosis, premature aging, and the leaching of important vitamins and minerals out of the body. Okay, so if I don't believe in diets and pills, then what works? I believe it comes down to these 4 areas and how they work in harmony together. So it's primary foods, secondary foods, environment, and lifestyle. The secondary foods are the foods that we eat. The primary foods are everything else that fulfills us. So it's relationships, it's exercise, it's connectivity to nature, it's spirituality, it's career, it's all of those things, right? And if we feel that there are holes in some of those, then we're going to try to compensate by using the secondary foods. And then environment and lifestyle are huge factors. Okay, so this is like the wheel of life. So all of these factors are primary foods. So creativity, finances, career, education, health, physical activity, home environment, I mean, all relationships, joy, all of that. So the key is to try to keep our lives as full in terms of all of those factors as we possibly can, because then that keeps everything in balance. So then we're not, then like if there's a hole in one of the areas, then we're not going to, try to emotionally eat or, do that kind of stuff. So it's trying to keep it all in balance. So I really believe in finding a way to find our own inner calm. I don't mean sitting there cross-legged doing the hum thing, or if that's your thing, then fine, it's not mine. But so, for example, my meditation is running. I go out there every morning and I'm like, I don't want anyone talking to me. I'm just doing my thing. Nature's around me. I'm losing myself in my thoughts. That's my meditation. For some people, it's, breathing exercises. It's reading a book. It's listening to music. But to find your thing that helps just create this sense of inner calm. And it's like, you know what, now I can deal with what else life is going to throw at me. So I think meditation in some way is huge. We are so guilty of not taking time for ourselves. We put jobs and other people first. But to take even 5 minutes, to prioritize ourselves for even 5 minutes makes a huge difference. It resets our starting point. It helps us find, again, our inner calm, so that then we're more open to helping other people. We're more able to do things. We have a clearer focus at work. We've got more energy to do things. So whether it's going out to exercise, having a nap, having a night out, whatever it is, a massage, just to find our thing. It does us so much good to step outside ourselves with love and awareness and share. I mean, think of how good you feel when we do something good for other people. It opens us up and makes us feel more fulfilled inside. Positive relationships, positive, healthy relationships are key. If we can surround ourselves with as many, loving relationships as we can and try to crowd out the ones that may be more toxic for us, then we'll have less of the stress, less of the, all the negative factors involved, the emotional eating, the, not being able to sleep. It's all connected. So I think we're all guilty, especially as women, of having that negative bird chattering in your ear. I can't do it. I'm not good enough. That person's much better than me. I'd never be able to do that. That's going to happen. We're never going to be able to eliminate that completely. But if we can try to crowd out those feelings with feelings of gratitude and walking with energy and purpose, reflecting on the good things, the positive parts of our lives, doing good for other people, surrounding ourselves with like-minded, uplifting people, then that negative self-talk will just turn into a vague whisper. Water is so therapeutic. For drinking and water therapy, most of us are dehydrated most of the time, leading to cravings, leading to inflammation, leading to all those bad things. I believe we're not drinking enough water, and I believe the way we're drinking it is not effective enough. I think it's much more effective to have a sip of water every 10 minutes than to, glug a litre of it every hour or something, because the body's just going to pass it. Where if you drink it gradually during the day, it'll hydrate. And actually, point to note is, if you boil water and then drink it like that gradually over the course of the day, it's going to be much more effective in hydrating us than if it's not boiled. Because by boiling it, you kill everything that's in there, so that the body doesn't have to do anything with it. It just goes straight to hydration.
What about filtered butter? Like my fridge has a filter in it. Is that all right, or should we?
No, that's good. No, that's good. The problem is it still has minerals and a certain amount of gunk in it. So it's like the body has to get through that before being able to hydrate. So I just think if the purpose of you drinking water is to hydrate you, then just get rid of everything else and let it hydrate straight away. So I think, yes, it's good if filtered water is better than non-filtered water, but then if you can just boil it to get rid of everything, then it hydrates straight away. You can actually feel it. You can feel the difference. Like, and when we sleep, so then when we wake up, we're chronically dehydrated because the body's cleansed, repaired, done all of that at night, which is taking everything we have. So we wake up and we're dehydrated. So the first thing we should do before we even get out of bed is take some of that water. Instantly hydrate, and you can feel then. It's like cleansing, hydrating.
How long do you boil it?
Just do you have like an electric kettle or a kettle that you put in the stove just until it's boiled, and then just drink it over the course of the day. It doesn't have to be hot when you're drinking it. I mean, it can be cool boiled water. But water therapy is, water's really therapeutic, right? When you go swimming or you're surrounded by water in nature, it's very calming. So I love that photo because it's a waterfall in Ireland where I'm from. But nature is so powerful. It's got so many healing benefits. It helps us find that sense of calm, kind of grounding. Sunlight is so powerful. It heals wounds, heals skin disorders, kills bad bacteria, lowers cholesterol, lowers blood pressure, increases oxygen in the blood, builds immunity, and cures depression. There's a reason why I think it's, I don't know, is it Finland? One of the countries in Scandinavia where they have the highest suicide rate is because they're in constant darkness. So I really believe in the power of exercise, not only in your structured hour run or whatever it is, but just in day-to-day exercise, like taking the stairs or doing a quick 10-minute speed walk around the block, or just incorporating it at various times of the day. It controls our weight, it lowers blood pressure, enhances our sleep, delays loss of muscle and muscle mass and strength, which we're all prone to in old age, or as we get older, rather. Improves balance and coordination, improves flexibility, digestion, reduces osteoporosis, reduces joint stress and back pain, decreases heart disease, reduces myocardial damage, decreases inflammation, improves immune function, improves insulin sensitivity and reduces the risk of type 2 diabetes, increases energy and reduces depression, anxiety, and stress, and improves cognitive function. So I think it's really interesting that the body heals 8 times faster when we exercise regularly. That's pretty amazing. Sleep, also huge. Our bodies want to heal and repair. That's what they were built to do. They do that when we sleep, when we get into that deep delta phase of sleep. I know it's difficult to get the time, but if you can get at least 8 hours sleep a few times a week, that makes a huge difference. Because we're cleansed properly then. We wake up refreshed. We don't have that mind fog. So sleep-inducing foods, just on a side note, are almonds, walnuts, lettuce, tuna, cherry juice, Brazil nuts, bananas, tomatoes. So one of the reasons why diets don't work is because it's like all at once and it's all or nothing. Okay. We need to implement changes gradually, incrementally, step by step, take a longer period of time to do it, because that's how it sticks. Because then it's like muscle memory. That's then our normal everyday life. Whereas with a diet, it's like, you're sticking to this regime, you have all this deprivation and no serotonin, no dopamine, none of that other stuff going on. And it's like, it's impossible, you're never going to stick to it. Whereas if you gradually increase, healthy foods, healthy lifestyle habits, then it'll just be a normal part of life. I'll never tell clients, don't have this, don't have that. I'd say, okay, have that, but then have more of this as well, right? Like, Diane was saying earlier, so still have your steak, okay, if that's what you want, but then have a ton of veg with it, okay? And then maybe have a little less steak, and then more veg, and gradually your bodies are gonna crave that good stuff, because it makes you feel so good. And then you realize, wow, this other stuff really does make me feel bad. So people who begin to eliminate toxins from their diets show improved physical, mental, and emotional health after the first week. So it doesn't take long. I love this quote by Hippocrates: "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." And I think it's powerful. Real whole foods with as few ingredients as possible, and always look at the top 3 ingredients of any food, any processed food that you buy, because it's the top 3 ingredients that are predominantly what that food is made up of. Tons of leafy greens, kale, spinach, limit processed foods and sugary foods. Digestion starts in the mouth. So we're all guilty of just gobbling it down and moving on to the next thing we have to do. But then half the food in our bodies is undigested, so it's no wonder it sits around for hours, if not days. We need to take the time to chew and help the digestive process. But there are other ways that I'll show you in a few minutes of having food pre-digested. There are lots of superfoods you can add to smoothies or whatever that really help boost your nutritional bang for your buck. Chocolate is actually healthy if you have it in the dark form, even healthier if it's in the raw form. Basically, the darker, the better, because the less sugar. And more importantly, enjoy whatever it is you decide to eat, because if you don't, you're not going to stick to it. So flavor is key. So we really are what we eat. It builds a stronger immune system, gives us more energy, improved mood, reduces anxiety and depression, helps us think sharper, focus, reduces brain fog, reduces cravings, weight loss, aids with digestion, reduces pain, inflammation, removes harmful toxins, helps us find a balance and repair and heal. So sometimes when we try to cleanse and include a lot more of these healthy foods into our diet, we do get things like headaches, mood swings, skin rashes, digestive issues, fatigue. But that's just the toxins leaving our bodies, and it doesn't take more than a couple of days. If you persevere with that and you come through at the other end and you feel really good, then you look back on your time before that and think, God, I felt really bad. So it's just the persevering through that exit of toxins from the body. Okay, so this is the acid-alkaline piece that I was talking about earlier. So we need to eat foods that are alkaline, so above the pH of 7.35, above the pH of the blood. So that rids our body of the toxins. It improves our immune function. It prevents parasites, germs, and disease. It slows down our aging process. It reduces inflammation and body pain, and increases energy and healthy longevity. Okay, so how do we do that? Right. So on the left you've all the alkaline foods, and on the right acidic. So the acidic foods are dairy, meat, refined processed foods, sugar, drugs, alcohol, coffee, white flour, soda. And the alkaline foods are the veggies, mainly the leafy greens, whole grains, fruit, water, lemon, the vinegars like apple cider vinegar, and green or herbal tea. So we need to increase the alkaline, reduce the acidic. So this acid-alkaline factor is overlooked by most diets. There's a reason why countries that consume the most dairy have the highest incidences of osteoporosis and bone loss. It's because dairy is highly acidic, and our bodies want to heal. So when we eat acidic food, it's creating an acidic environment. So our bodies want to find alkalinity from somewhere to try to balance that out before inflammation breaks out and everything else goes wrong. So it gets that alkalinity from our bones, because our bones are highly alkaline. So that means osteoporosis, low bone density, and bone loss. So what should we eat? So all veggies from the land and the sea. The thing is about land vegetables now, they're not as mineral rich as they were when our parents were eating them, because of the way soil is cultivated. So the only really mineral dense place on the earth is the seabed. So sea vegetables, so seaweed, spirulina, kelp, all that kind of stuff. Fruit, juices, soups, whole grains, legumes, so chickpeas, lentils, that kind of stuff. Nuts and seeds, wild fish, coconut and olive oil, eggs, tofu. I think spices are really important to include in our diets because they've got such medicinal properties and they boost metabolism and just keep everything sped up, and vinegars as well. So the top 10 cleansing foods are leafy greens, especially kale, cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, lemons, watercress, garlic, green tea, ginger, berries, artichokes, and beetroot. Okay, so we're all terrified of fats. We think fats make us fat. The bad fats, yes, make us fat, but the good fats actually help us lose weight and burn the bad fats. So the good fats are things like, think omega-3s, like nuts, seeds, acai berry, which is, I think, it's so potent. Wild fish, avocados, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, even wild meats like wild game. Just an interesting point, the wilder the fish or animal, the higher their products are in omega-3s. And we want to increase omega-3s and decrease omega-6s. So as wild, free roaming as possible. We need to limit or eliminate acidic foods like drugs, alcohol, caffeine, medications, fast food, sugar and artificial sweeteners, salt, refined processed artificial ingredients, gluten, which I'll talk about in a second, animal protein, and dairy. The thing is, I really believe in the 90-10 rule. So if you can live as healthily as you can 90% of the time, then you've got to allow yourself the 10% of the stuff that you like, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to stick to it. Because again, it's that deprivation, psycho-emotional factor. Right, sugar. Sugar decreases our immune system. It increases insulin levels, causing the body to store excess carbs as fat. It causes a rapid rise in adrenaline levels. It increases anxiety, creates difficulty concentrating, and increases crankiness. So I'm talking things like white refined sugar, artificial sweeteners, high fructose corn syrup. According to the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, there's a high correlation between these sugars and diabetes and obesity. So no surprise there. Sugar consumption is linked to hyperglycemia, attention deficiency disorders, yeast overgrowth, imbalance of neurotransmitters to the brain. So it's pretty toxic. Artificial sweeteners, unfortunately, are even worse. There are in all sugar-free foods, diet sodas. You're talking aspartame, sucralose, saccharin. The Food and Drug Administration have found at least 92 side effects of artificial sweeteners, including memory loss, nerve cell damage, migraines, Alzheimer's, reproductive disorders, brain lesions, food cravings, weight gain, depression, seizures, schizophrenia. So you put a sugar-free soda into an aluminium can and you got toxic overload. Yes?
Are there any artificial sweeteners that are better?
Stevia is supposed to be safe. I think if you can use like raw honey and blackstrap molasses and brown rice syrup and raw agave, They all have huge medicinal effects. However, if it's in a sprouted form like that, then I think we can actually deal with it. And it has like so many, thank you, Diane, so many benefits. Okay, so gluten causes issues like celiac, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, joint pain, itchy skin, belly fat, and irritable bowel issues. Wheat is also an appetite stimulant. So it's not a coincidence, nor is it our fault that we crave all of this, highly processed food that's full of wheat. They do that on purpose. They've spent billions of dollars on research and studies to figure out how they can get us hooked. It's like giving us morphine. We want to go back for more. They're doing this, they know what they're doing, these manufacturing companies. Wheat is a stimulant. So gluten-free grains are quinoa, brown or wild rice, buckwheat, millet, amaranth, oats if they're not cross-contaminated, and polenta. So a lot of them are actually seeds and not grains, which means they sprout easier and they've got really high protein content. So amaranth, quinoa, buckwheat, wild rice, they're technically seeds and not grains. So that means they're already in the amino acid form of protein. So the kind of protein that our bodies need is the amino acid form. So for example, if you have protein in the form of meat or fish, the body, or dairy or whatever, so the body has to work really hard to convert that to the amino acid form of protein, in which time you're exhausted, you have your afternoon slump, so you reach for your bar of chocolate or whatever. Whereas if you have more like vegan-based proteins, like the nuts, the seeds, the legumes, the grains, even spinach is high in protein, that kind of stuff, that's already in the amino acid form. So that's not going to make you tired. The body will take what it needs from it and feel energized straight away. So on the hydration issue, so I mentioned the boiling water, but I think it's really powerful to add lemon to it over the course of the day because it's highly alkaline, and that'll help balance out a lot of the acidic foods that we're consuming. So it's just an easy way of trying to increase alkalinity throughout the day. It also flushes out toxins and dissolves that mucus environment, aids digestion, improves absorption of minerals, lowers blood sugar, and breaks down fat. And for an extra kick, you can add a pinch of cayenne pepper. So rev things up. So juicing, I think, is a great supplement, especially if it's cold press juicing. So there are so there's cold press juicing, and then there's juicing using like a blade or a blender. The problem is, if there's a blade being used, it's creating heat, and when heat is applied to food, it kills a lot of the enzymes. So if you can use a method where it's just pressing, then that keeps a lot of the nutritional value and fiber. Chlorophyll is found in all greens. It's known as the fountain of youth in the blood of plants. So anyone who has like any respiratory issues, if you can increase the consumption of like green veg, because think like sort of greenery releases oxygen. That's what we need to breathe. So if we eat that food, it's doing that in our bodies. So it's opening everything out, or up rather. Hemp, which is a seed, is really high in chlorophyll. And chlorophyll is an amazing protein source. So I just think celery is it's just a fun one to mention because it, you wouldn't think it has much nutritional value, but it's actually really powerful. It increases the blood flow and reduces blood pressure. It lowers stress hormones. It contains silicon for bone health and connective tissue, and it prevents the growth of cancer cells. So some of the superfoods that I really like are chia seeds, because they're so high in omega-3s, full of antioxidants, fiber, calcium, protein. They're really energizing. They reduce cravings. And when they come in contact with water, they swell. And so then when you eat them, they swell up inside your body, create a kind of a gelatinous type substance, attract all the toxins to it, sweep all the toxins out. So it's really cleansing, amazing protein, omega-3s, all the good stuff. Goji berries are another superfood. They contain 18 different amino acids, so 18 different of the proteins. 21 trace minerals, full of B vitamins, which most of us, I think, are deficient in. 13% protein, which is really rare for fruit. They contain more iron than spinach, great for eyesight, 500 times higher vitamin C than oranges, and 2 to 4 times more antioxidants than blueberries, and they are the #1 anti-aging food. So we were talking about the sea vegetables, the mineral density that we don't get anywhere else. The problem is, when I mention seaweed to most people, it's like, ugh. It's like the slimy type substance. So I always think an easier way of getting the mineral density from sea vegetables is to take it in spirulina form. It's a plant-based protein, 55 to 77% protein, which is really high. It's a rich source of the essential fatty acids, which rejuvenate our cells and reduce inflammation. Vitamin B rich, also rich in C, D, and E, extremely mineral rich. Increases the oxygen carrying capacity of our blood because it's full of chlorophyll. It improves our immune response, cleanses our blood, and protects our DNA from aging. Maca is the highest growing crop in the world, which means it's got incredible life force. So think of if you eat that, what it's doing to you. It's huge for for fertility issues, for athletes to speed up their recovery in between trainings. It's full of amino acids, which are the proteins. Chocolate is really good for you. In its raw form, it's incredible. It opens capillaries and allows better absorption of other vitamins and minerals. These are cacao nibs that are in its purest form. It's packed with vitamins and minerals itself. It releases anandamide, which is the bliss chemical. So it's, again, no coincidence that eating chocolate makes us feel good. The problem is the way we process it and add a ton of sugar to it kind of depletes the nutritional value. But if you can go as dark as possible, like anything above 70% is good. And if you can get the raw form, even better. It's #1 antioxidant food and the #1 source of chromium and magnesium. Okay, so speaking of magnesium, I think most of us are magnesium deficient, okay, but it helps with so much. It prevents diabetes, controls blood sugar, helps against PMS, helps bone health and reduce osteoporosis, helps us sleep, reduces blood pressure and abnormal heart rhythms, increases our energy. So symptoms of magnesium deficiency are salt and carb cravings, panic attacks, PMS, palpitations, cramps, muscle tension, insomnia, and immune dysfunction. And great food sources of magnesium are the dark green leafy veg, nuts like almonds and cashews, fish, fruit, veg, seeds, and soybeans. And the skin is the largest organ in the body, so taking in magnesium through Epsom bath salts is a good way of doing it too. Stress depletes magnesium, leading to hypertension, coronary artery constriction, and heart attack. So we need to take a break from eating for like 12 hours on a kind of regular basis, because that's when we really heal and cleanse. And when you do that, you really feel the difference. You feel like the brain fog has cleared and you feel more vibrant and energetic. It's actually good to try to feel the difference. Okay, so I thought I'd just go through a few common issues that we all kind of just accept, but we don't have to accept. So inflammatory bowel disorder is one. So it involves inflamed intestines, like Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. So this is an immune reaction that the body has against its own intestinal tissue. So what we should do if we have IBD is have no processed food, no starchy veg, canned veg, processed grains, flour, sugar, sweeteners, milk products. and try to eat more lean meat, like the wild game or bison or something like that. Wild fish, veg juices, stocks, fermented foods. So fermented foods are things like, okay, so I showed you the sprouts, but like things like sauerkraut and kimchi, like fermented vegetables, they're really potent when it comes to feeding the good live bacteria in our stomachs. But other ways of getting fermented foods are through like kombucha. Kombucha is made from a fermented, it's a fermented drink. And, this one is like all green, spirulina, whatever, but you can get ones with fruit if it's easier to, more palatable that way. But it's really potent. It's full of enzymes, probiotics, all of that. And that's the key to, to get as much of the good bacteria and live enzymes as you can to just get rid of, and that'll fight off all the bad stuff. Good health starts in the gut. Coconut oil. Coconut oil is really potent. It's antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, anti-everything. So we were talking earlier about our coffee. I believe in the 90-10 rule. I'm not going to give up coffee or red wine. They're my things. But just to find, to find ways of, reducing the negative effects of those on your body. So a great tip is to mix some raw coconut oil through your coffee. Because coconut oil is highly alkaline, coffee is highly acidic, right? So you're negating the acidity of the coffee by adding the coconut oil. It also adds, and you can taste the difference, because you can taste the fact that it's got rid of that acidity and it's smoother. So I really believe in raw coconut oil. So IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, gas, bloating, pain, discomfort. Trigger foods are the usual suspects: gluten, white flour, sugar, alcohol, caffeine, dairy, citrus, red meat, fried food, corn, and artificial sweeteners. Stress triggers IBS. Our intestines are our second brain. That's where serotonin is produced. So if we are stressed, no serotonin is produced. So I think calcium and magnesium are great supplements to have if you've got IBS, but take them separately because they counteract each other's benefits. And also calcium is a constipating agent and magnesium is a diuretic. Calcium is great to take at night time because it's a diuretic, you don't really want to take it during the day, but also it really cures a lot of the other things. And if you're a migraine sufferer, magnesium is really powerful. So with IBS, it's key to eat more slowly, chew more, and that's why having foods that are already sprouted or fermented, that's half the digestive process done for you. So if you are guilty of not chewing slowly enough and just rushing through your food, at least you're having stuff where your body doesn't have to do much to get to extract the nutrients from them. So more fermented, sprouted foods. Balanced meals, so make sure you're thinking of nutritional density in whatever you're eating. Like try to get as much nutritional value per forkful. Increase fiber. Fiber is really the sweeping brush of the body. Think low sugar fruit, gluten-free grains like quinoa and brown rice, sprouted seeds, nuts, soaked nut seeds, dark green leafy veg, sweet veg. It's key that we have a lot of good quality protein. Again, I think vegan-based protein is the highest in terms of nutritional value because it's already in the amino acid form of protein. We don't have to do anything to convert it. Whereas meat, fish, or dairy, our bodies have to convert it first to amino acids, then take the benefit from it, in which time we're exhausted. Food should be cooked when healing IBS. If you don't want to give up yogurt, then try to have kefir because it's got live cultures. Yoga, acupuncture, hypnotherapy, running, they're all good for IBS. Drink lots of water. heating mechanism in the stomach is pretty effective. Okay, so blood pressure. Magnesium and calcium are key to lowering blood pressure. If you don't feel you're getting enough of it through food, then definitely I would look down the supplement route, but try to get as much through food as possible, like vegetables, celery, peppers, tomatoes, greens, garlic, low sugar fruit. Omega-3s are really important. We want to increase omega-3s, reduce omega-6s. Vitamin C is really important for lowering blood pressure. Good fats, good quality protein. Exercise is crucial. And reducing sodium. Always look at the ingredients anyway, but pay attention to the sodium in food. They put so much salt in this stuff. And that is it. Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you.
Okay, we also want to remind everybody that Sinead is taking some one-on-one counseling, and it is worth points. It's the nutrition coaching. It costs $48 a session, which will be reimbursed through your loans reimbursement funding money that you have. And then she'll be sticking around for just a little bit.
Yeah, has anyone any questions?